Third part. You've cut your finger. Was it a blade of grass, perhaps? You have shaken me out of my slumber. My body swells for this tiny life. Allow me to sample a taste. The smell of decay and dirt drew closer to Misha's neck. It was at that moment another voice called out, "Wait." That voice reverberated frostily but forcefully in my mind. In that instant, I was able to escape the curse of the dark presence behind me. "She is a subject of my sector, Lord Joycerin," said the voice. "I am Greylancer, your successor as overlord of this sector." It was the first time your name was burned into my heart. "I know you, Greylancer," the voice behind me said. "I have felt the passing of time from inside my grave. I've known about you since your youth. Do not interfere." "You were relieved of your post as overlord for fomenting the human uprisings. If you lay a finger on one of my subjects, I will have to intervene. You dare oppose another noble to protect a human. That, too, is the nobility's fate." The shadow behind me leapt at my rescuer, tracing an arc over my head. Then there was a strange sound as I glimpsed the spearhead pierce its black cape back. In an instant, the shadow fell to the ground, in dust. In the darkness, Mitya had recognized an even darker shadow with a great lance in its outstretched hand. The sinister figure stood against the night as if it might penetrate the darkness. Mitya stood motionless, unable to speak. The figure that had rescued her from one horror was a horror himself, but the emotion swelling inside her heart was neither terror nor fear, but excitement. Greylancer, she recognized, was none other than the name of the current overlord. Those around Mitya condemned the noble as the devil, citing legends of countless atrocities he'd perpetrated. Mitya believed in those legends. And yet how strong, rugged, fierce, and gentle was this immovable mountain of a man before her. Saved from the clutches of accursed death, perhaps given the extreme prejudice she'd previously had, her impression of the noble had been completely overturned. Much to her shock, Mitya had found herself in love with Greylancer from that moment. "Are you all right?" The shadow asked, a voice like steel. "Yes," answered Mitya, in a voice that was unexpectedly clear. "Good. Then go." "It seems I've been left behind. I'm alone here." Then she uttered a question that even she could hardly believe. "Would you take me back to Ardos?" "Do you know who I am?" "Yes. You are Lord Greylancer, overseer of the northern frontier." "And you ask me to return you to your village?" "Why, yes. You said that it is your duty to protect us just before." The shadow fell silent. Mitya sensed something tremendous and inexpressible roiling inside the giant. It soon subsided and hardened into steel. "Very well, but swear this. You will never speak of your time with me." "I swear." Mitya answered immediately and then added, "Why?" "Do not ask." His earth-rattling voice shook Mitya's heart. "I understand." At last, the girl realized that her rescuer was unmistakably a noble. And now she spoke before him again, in the stables of her husband. "You departed first and I followed out of the forest. In the moonlight, I could make out a single-passenger wagon. Now a chariot made of gold and steel, which you helped me into. You then escorted me back to my village. Rocking in that chariot by his side was a most heartwarming time." The cries of the night birds or cursing winds did not frighten me. I yearned to ride to the ends of the earth with you. After you dropped me at the edge of town, I watched you ride off and I wept. I have been dead ever since. Mitya finished recounting her childhood incident quietly and with great feeling. Greylancer's reaction was immediate. "I do not recall," said the voice of steel. Mitya could not find a foothold from which to scale this impenetrable fortress. In which case perhaps a ladder was in order. "I remember, and that is enough. You dropped me at the entrance of the village and told me to forget. Ironically enough, it was those words that stayed with me," said Mitya, her eyes glistening. "That is in the past," Greylancer said gruffly. "Your blood was warm and sweet nevertheless. I am reborn, but perhaps I shall have another taste." "Then please." His pale fingers twined around Mitya's hand, clutching the vials. She was frozen by the pain like steel wires digging into her flesh. "Why must I drink such dregs when your hot lifeblood is so plentiful here?" Greylancer drew her into his arms. "My eyes can see the veins in your body. My ears can hear your blood flowing. My mouth yearns to drain it dry." "My lord," Mitya moaned. Her eyes grew shrouded in mist. Hot breath escaped her lips. Under the tyrannical gaze of the oppressor, humans most often cringed and cowered and seethed. Perhaps Greylancer recognized that Mitya was an exception. This woman showed none of the inescapable fear or hatred that his victims usually betrayed when under his spell. "How I've waited for this moment," she gasped. "Take me where you will. Turn me into whatever you please. It has long been my wish to die by your hand, ever since you rescued me when I was 15. When she threw her arms against his chest, Greylancer faltered. This was an uncommon experience for the brave and peerless warrior. That look of blatant terror on the victim's face just before the kiss was the one thrill a vampire existed for. Yet here was this woman throwing herself into his embrace. Greylancer put a hand on her chin and gazed into her face. "Your kind have always looked into my eyes and could do little else but cower in terror. You are not like them. Are you not afraid of me?" "Why, no," she answered, her voice dreamy. "Had you not found me in that forest 17 years ago, I would be an entirely different woman. You saved my life. It is yours to deal with as you please." Greylancer furrowed his brows. "Are you weeping?" "Do not know." Another luminous tear rolled down her cheek. "I don't understand it, the act of crying, that is. The nobility have never shed tears, nor have I. I've heard that humans cry for 2 reasons, fear and sorrow. If you are not afraid, are you sad?" "No." Mitya shook her head. "I've cried out of sadness only once in my life, shortly after I was born. I've never wept since. That is the same for all humans on the frontier." "Why is that?" "We have no time for tears if we want to live," answered Mitya, looking away for a moment. "Half of the children die within 2 months of their birth. The land in these parts can barely grow 1/10 of the crops that we need to survive. You receive necessary rations from the administration bureau in the capital." Greylancer's tone turned serious. Overseeing the northern frontier sector was his responsibility. For the first time, an incredulous expression came into Mitya's eyes. Do you not know? About what? The rations we receive from the Bureau do not last any of the villages more than a week. That's absurd. I've seen to it that you will never go hungry. Your welfare has always been a priority. But you do not deliver the supplies yourself. You're not suggesting my vassals. Profiteering. He shook his head. A ferocious gleam began to burn in his eyes. Why do you weep now, amid this reality too hard for tears? And Greylancer swallowed his words, as a faint smile crept onto Mitchell's face. There's another reason why I weep, she said, hopeful and bashful at the same time. Speak it now, said Greylancer gravely. Her pale arms twined around his neck. It was a moment best described as a miracle. No other time in history has a human, neither spellbound by a noble's gaze nor seeking servitude, ever willingly desired a noble. I weep because... Mitchell stopped. Greylancer looked up at the entrance. What's wrong? An unfortunate intruder. Greylancer clenched Mitchell's hand. 4 silhouettes rushed inside and scattered about the stable. Mitchell, what are you doing? The earth-scorching cry belonged to Chief Lonze. Though she let go of his hand, rather than pulling away, Mitchell collapsed over Greylancer's lap. My lord, just what have I done to earn your disfavor? The chief trembled violently. 2 of the men appeared to be the chief's hired hands, and the other, Greylancer recognized. The man had been the one glaring at Greylancer with murderous intent at the tavern. My lord, what is this? An emotion unlike despair and shock swelled in the chief's voice. Chapter 2, End.